Hello, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. You know those ads that we hate to see on our social media? Well, I saw this ad for a blanket. The light bulb went on in my brain and I said, I must make this blanket out of my stash. I took a look at my stash drawers and it looked like I had some of the same colors and that I could potentially recreate this blanket. I decided I was going to use 2.5-inch strips for this blanket. And what you see here, I measured on my screen how many centimeters the length of each row of strips was. Then I added that and came up with a percentage of the total length of strips. I'll leave more math details in my description along with a conversion chart if you want to make it a little bigger than mine came out. Now this chart lists all the colors that I'm going to need and how much strip length I'm going to need and how many strips of each length. For example, on the blue, I'm going to cut 3 strips 2.5 by 14, 2 strips 2.5 by 22, and 1 strip 6 inches by 2.5 inches. Here is a look at all the fabrics I pulled from my stash, and you can see I've got my little cheat sheets right there on the mat so I know what to cut. And again, check the description of this video and I will leave the exact measurements of the colors that I cut and you will be able to use that. And also, I'll leave a little extra information if you want to make this blanket a little bigger than mine turned out. Now, if you go back to the first picture of that ad that I saw online, I've got my 4 lengths of strips here, and each length of strip is going to be 1 complete row, 20 pieces wide. Off screen over to my left, I have my computer, and it has the picture of the blanket advertisement on it, so I can put these strips in the exact order of that advertisement. And here I am assembling each stack of the various lengths in the order that I'm seeing on my screen. So starting with the bottom row for this blanket, I am going to stitch 2 strips together, and I am going to chain piece these, but as I said, I have my computer screen open on the left that you cannot see here, and it has that advertisement, and I had to keep running over to my computer and unlocking the screen so I could double check that I was keeping these colors in the correct order. If you've got a color printer at home, I suggest just printing out a picture, and that will save you a lot of time and trouble. So you can see this blanket only has 4 rows. Each row has 20 strips, and all of the rows are different lengths. Here I'm starting on the 3rd row, which for me, those pieces are 6 inches long by 2.5 inches wide. Next, I started on the longest strips, which are row 2. And I continued chain piecing and started on that top row. Once I got through my round 1, I went ahead and broke all those chains, and I did my very, very best to keep these strips in the exact same order in which I sewed them. Because I'm using so many strips all sewn together, 20 across, I am flipping my strip sets around the opposite way. This is going to prevent my seams from bowing. So I'm going to be stitching one direction on the first round and a different direction on the second round. And again, I'm using the image on my computer screen off to my left, and I'm running over there to check and make sure, because these are upside down now, these strips are basically, instead of left to right, now they're right to left. So I'm really keeping a very close eye on that image on my screen to make sure I'm getting these strips in the same order. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that usually I don't care if things are out of order or if things are messed up, but in this case, I'm really trying to replicate this cool blanket I saw online. So I do want to take the time and make sure that I am really truly replicating it. You may also notice at this stage of the process, I am no longer chain piecing. I am simply doing one row at a time. I thought if I keep chain piecing, this is all going to get mixed up. So I decided to just do one row at a time. I thought I would at least go through this row slowly so you can see exactly how I'm doing this. I'm taking my time, I'm checking that image over on my computer screen, I'm checking the colors on these strips. I just want it to be like the picture I saw. Once I had all the strip rows completed, I did trim the sides up just a little bit. My next step was to start putting two rows together. And I've got my clips handy. I do want these seams to match up. It's not going to look exactly like that picture unless these seams do match up. So I am clipping every seam, I am nesting those seams, which simply means that one seam is going one way and one seam is going the opposite way. I am also being consistent with the direction I'm nesting, and that will come in handy later when I press this blanket. I also felt like my rows were wide enough. The skinniest row is 6 inches, and I just went ahead and clipped all these rows together before I stitched them together. Then I just simply stitched my 3 seams, and the blanket is done. I pressed this quilt top from the back. I wanted to press one row one direction and one row the opposite direction. This way my nesting seams would continue to nest the way I had clipped them. Here is a look at that finished quilt top, and off to the left you'll see the image from the advertisement. I think there are a lot of reasons why I was attracted to this advertisement. I think it's interesting that there is only one black strip in this blanket, and it's also interesting how the yellows move through the blanket and the blues and greens move a different way through the blanket. And here's another look at this blanket in a black and white colorway, so you can kind of see how that adds interest to this blanket. Thank you so much for joining me today for this Stashbuster, and I hope to see you back again real soon.